Hi, welcome into my channel. This channel is against the Big Bang. So this is my fourth video on George Smoot. George Smoot is presenting a short history of the lies that entail the Big Bang. So he says that you can make from space quarks and from quarks atoms. So listen.
Is that things happen on different levels. So the simplest stuff is up here at the highest energy level, and you form a building block, and from that you form more building blocks, right? So we start with space-time itself, and then we make quarks, and then the quarks make the protons and neutrons. The next step that we're getting ready to go to is the protons and neutrons bind together to make the nuclei.
Right.
That is, they make the unbound proton as the hydrogen, and then you can bind two protons and two neutrons together and get helium, and so on, up to carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and everything else.
So this is the way I make my videos. I'm taking like a tea science, coffee science, and I comment science. This crazy science is not science, like it's poem science that they have. Okay, I'm against the Big Bang, but I'm telling like a tea science, coffee science, and I always have something to drink. I put some milk. This is green tea. So this is like a justification for my videos. Like this is the way I make my videos. So what he is saying is that you can produce from space, pure space, quarks, and from quarks protons, neutrons, and electrons, and things like this. So what is wrong? You cannot make from space, pure empty space, nothing. And the second thing, the quarks do not exist. Do not exist. Quark do not exist. You can take the energy electron, and you can cut it mathematically in 3, 4, 5 pieces mathematically, but you cannot obtain 3 quarks to make an electron. But mathematically you can. But you do not find anywhere a quark. Not in electronics, nowhere. You just invented entities and do not exist, and you cannot prove them that they exist. So you take the mass of the proton, you break it in 4 times, 5. Mathematically, you 1.34, you cut this in 5 pieces, 7 pieces. But that 7 pieces do not exist, only like in a mathematical proportion. I take one and I break it in what pieces that I want, okay? But that pieces do not exist. It's a mathematical procedure. So quarks do not exist. So you cannot make from empty space quarks, crazy, that do not exist, and from that quarks, proton, electron, or neutron. And then he says, like, from then on, for sure you know how the atoms appear. So listen.
And so what we're doing in the early universe is we're letting the protons and neutrons get together, but the hot radiation keeps blowing the protons and neutrons apart as soon as deuterium forms. Right. But eventually it cools down enough that the light elements can form, and we get sort of a lot of the neutrons decayed, leaving us with excess of protons. So 75% is just plain hydrogen, and 25% is helium, and there's a smattering of other stuff. There wasn't time. And then we're stuck. We have this primordial soup of hydrogen and helium, and it's in a hot plasma. And we have to wait the 400,000 years until atoms can form. It's just nuclei and free electrons.
And when are those nuclei forming, just to give us a time period?
So you see how they are tricking you. This is some atoms: hydrogen, helium, lithium, carbon, oxygen. That it seems to you that it somehow increases, like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this. Yes, 10. 10 you make from 2. 36 you make for 3. Like this a mathematical procedure. You can make of 86 radon, xenon, krypton, argon 18, neon 10 from carbon. Mathematical procedure. 6 plus 6 is equal 8. So you have what is 12. So we have the 12th element. Or from hydrogen you make all of them. But you do not understand, my friends, that each atom has some have radiation, some do not have. Some have a resonance, so they do not have. So he is falsifying the thermodynamics. It's like the quark soup, and he's does not say what is the temperature. In Weinberg book that he cites, it is 1036 degrees. You cannot obtain this. Temperature is limited function. You can bring this to boiling point and no further than that. And each atom has a boiling point or a melting point. So, but they are not coherent in the Mendeleev. One is 1000, next one 300 degrees, next one 600 degrees. 2000 degrees is not a coherence through the degrees. But so if you put temperature, it means you understand. So then he says that with this carbon, so it says that it has 3 resonances, but it took the Nobel Prizes. You do not understand that from 1900, hundreds of people took Nobel Prizes for craziness. For craziness. They are crazy, you do not believe this. They took Nobel Prizes. They retreated Nobel Prizes from a guy, and they gave him to another one, but not even the first one. They give Nobel Prizes to craziness. The guy that invented the dynamite, what could be good from that? Nothing. And you understand, 99% of the people that took Nobel Prizes were crazy.
Then we have to wait this longer period of time.
Then we have to wait 400,000 years till we can make atoms. That is, combine, the universe expands and cools enough till we can actually have neutral atoms form. That is, electrons combine with the nuclei to form the kind of atoms we're used to in this room.
Right.
And once that happens, we have another time period to wait until those atoms can gather together to make the first generation of stars.
Through gravity.
Through gravity, right? So the original perturbations we saw allow gravitational attraction to pull material in and to build it up, very much the way the Earth must have been made, but before that, because we didn't have the materials to make the Earth yet. We have to cook the first set of elements in stars, right? And then the stars send out the first cooked up elements.
By blowing up in supernova.
Right. By blowing up. Supernova is the primary way, but they also stellar winds. You can get a fair amount out in stellar winds. But supernova are the primary way. And so you need this first generation of very massive stars that burn furiously and build up these heavier elements, build up a hydrogen, carbon, then nitrogen, oxygen, all the way up to iron.
Because of the pressure inside of them, they can combine the lighter elements into heavier elements.
Right. You need very high densities and high temperatures. And you had high temperatures in the universe, but you didn't have the high densities. So you couldn't get up to the carbon.
So you understand you cannot have from silver, gold. You cannot have. So he says, did you saw anywhere this equation? Hydrogen plus fusion equals iron. Hydrogen plus fusion equals carbon. Hydrogen plus fission equal oxygen. Hydrogen plus fission equal magnesium. Did you see these formulas anywhere? Where do you study? In England? A stupid. In France? Your children from France learn this at school? From where? From Poland? And you are from Europe, okay? That's from European Union. I have some heart for the European Union, okay? So in Spain, you learn this in Spain. When you are these liars, dudes, you learn this in Spain. Hydrogen plus fusion equal carbon. So the temperature is the limited function. And Weinberg started falsifying thermodynamics because you need in 13 billion years. So then he says, like, you do not allowed to. You are not allowed to make atoms because I don't want you through temperature. And these were crowded. So listen.
And in fact, Hoyle pointed out there had to be a triple resonance in carbon for this to work.
Yeah.
And people went out and measured it, and it was, Willie Fowler, one of the reasons he got the Nobel Prize was finding this was there. And it all fits together beautifully, and you can understand how the matter got generated. First it came from the Big Bang, then it was produced in stars, and then the stars ejected the material, and then it's like ecology in a forest. Now new stars and planets can form, right? So we're second generation already, at least. Actually, some hint that we're partly third generation. We're a mixture of at least 2 different stars in the solar system.
So through this crowded stuff, you're not allowed to make atoms. but only that to like let's suppose that is like this, like to like in football team I am on your part. So at the end it was goal. They succeeded. They arranged, but you falsify thermodynamics and then you say that somehow it was too crowded. But when you dispel that crowdedness, you made atoms. But this lies, my friends. Then he has no equation. What equation? This equation. So some atoms in a microwave, a cesium atom or another atoms, you electroshock them, they produce a radiation. You cannot have like an explosion, he says, in the carbon. You fuse, so he is incoherent even. You do not have atoms, but then he says that you produce them. but then he says they took Nobel Prize they said that for carbon you have to have three positions somehow, three, but for all atoms they're individual make. Let me tell you like this: if you make the condition to produce one, you may destroy all of them. So if you fuse in a star like through magical pressure, gravity is not attraction, it does not pressure. So if you fuse in the star through pressure atoms.
And it's really quite a lovely story. It's like you think of I think of the galaxy as like the jungle in Brazil, right? There's this processing of the nutrients up into the stars and then back out into the medium and back up into the stars, right? And that's the spiral arms are where the new stars are forming. And we just happen to be in one, and we're lucky.
Spiral arms of each galaxy.
The spiral arm of our galaxy is the leading edge, is where a lot of stars are forming. And so it's really kind of an interesting organic kind of process on a big scale.
In this whole remarkable story, how much is backed by real observational data as opposed to strong theory, which is very consistent? And how many different ways can we assess that data? Is it one or is there diverse ways? I mean, starting right at the beginning.
Right. So,
and I will tell you by this, it says this is an aspired galaxy. From what present can you maintain 1,000 years, 5,000 years, and 100,000 years? If you are moving in a circle like this, okay, a galaxy, and has 100,000 light years, you understand this? It is literally 100,000 years from here to the border of that galaxy, supposed galaxy. But you do not understand what is means. If you have a black hole in the middle, with the hands you must grab, with the black hole hands you must grab 1,000 years, 5,000 years. So these black holes communicate through time gravity in 100,000 light years. So the galaxies are small. But in the next video I'll continue this with okay. You cannot produce carbon. You cannot produce carbon in some crazy stars, and the stars do not fuse until carbon or iron, he says. They do not fuse. Stars do not make atoms. This was their invention. You do not have any science. Gravity is not attraction. It is not a collapsing factor. It is not. Gravity is not. And they do not understand this. Okay? It is not a pressure. It is a centripetal pressure force only. Like this, if it gives in injury, if a body rotates. But 99% of the stars do not rotate. Okay, goodbye, God bless the star court. We can go to the stars. This is what I wanted to tell you in this video. I'm saying like a tea science. I have here this green tea with milk. So see me in my next video. You do not believe that these guys are lying to you. You cannot produce you cannot put any atom that you want. Suppose that it is an incremental increase. Some atom has some type of radiation, some do not. So if you compound them in a star through a pressure and then you explode them, you can destroy another set of atoms and to produce another set of atoms. Plus this, we cannot know how we make light only from hydrogen. It is not known. You must have many atoms and electricity and some circuit from a pole to a pole, and you cannot produce the first set of stars. So goodbye Galbraith, you cannot make from hydrogen copper. Okay, goodbye.